Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Wandering Home Podcast. My name is Tyler. I'm one of the hosts.
Hello.
And this is my buddy Kevin is with me. Kevin. All right. Rock and roll. That was more than you guys usually get. If you don't come here often, it's usually just two letters. That time, I think you got 4 or 5, so that's good. Kevin's really a talker, though, so we'll get into it.
Just takes me a minute.
It takes him a while to warm up.
Hello.
Grease the wheels. It takes him a minute to get going. Yeah, so, all right, well, let's just cut straight to the intro, Mr. Producer, and then we'll come right back. 5, 4, 3. Talking about faith in all of its different forms and facets. And
there's a saying that every saint has a past, but that means that every sinner has a future.
All right, so hello everybody, and today we're back on our church shopping episodes. So for those of you who haven't listened, we've done 2 episodes already. Myself, Tyler, going church shopping in Huntsville, Alabama. So anyway, we've picked 3 churches. One's a really big church.
Yeah.
One, I realize, is also a pretty damn big church that I went to last weekend. And then kind of what I think is a medium-sized church. All of them so much bigger than the 300-person church that I was a part of, as a young adult. And even now in Huntsville, the Methodist church that I'm a member at, I would say maybe has 300 people. But that's like padding the stats. You know how, all churches kind of pad the stats a little bit because they have members that are like not active, And it's kind of like Social Security. They were finding people who are supposedly like 134 years old.
Do you feel like that's the way they were doing it in the churches?
Collecting Social Security. We kind of do that with
why would they?
Church members. Yeah. We have 400 people.
400
I'm like,
people
I'm here every week.
What are you?
No, you
what
don't.
are you talking about? Yeah, I could say that.
75 in the early service if we're lucky, and
yeah,
I know the back end service is not a banger, so I know there's not. It's always sad too for me because I actually think that our traditional service is a lot busier than our
like contemporary
morning service, and I think that means that
you got like a tambourine in that one.
Yeah. I wonder if that indicates. Well, we used to have a tambourine, but that lady, she stopped. She actually does a really cool. She's in a cover band. I went to go see. I want to say it was
good for her.
A Dave Matthews cover band that she's in. Yeah. They did a 420 Dave Matthews Band concert at
That's awesome.
Some place at Stovehouse, Electric Bell. Yeah.
And
Sarah and I went, and we were like, "Is that the lady from the church?"
And she's
of course, Sarah grew up with
pretty big Dave
lady.
Matthews fan. I'm guessing.
It was.
Good for her. I like that.
It must be. Yeah. She's cool. But no, we had her, and then we had a couple of brothers on guitar, so we were like really guitar heavy, and we had this one guy who's been on the drums since I've been here for 10 years, but kind of the leads go in and out, What are you going to do?
Yeah, I can.
Anyway, let's get back. Can you hear me? All right. So let's talk about
So how was your experience
Summit
there?
Crossing. Let me pull up.
It's kind of the hipster.
Well.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to bury the lead. I left early. Yeah, I left early.
Yeah.
I think that I just had enough and I knew the traffic was going to be bad. Summit Crossing, seeing the kingdom of Christ advance. Let me see. Glad you're here. We're so glad you're here. We know that stepping into a new place for the first time can be overwhelming. Our desire as you visit is that you would know the gospel of Jesus, connect in gospel relationships, and live for his mission in your world as family.
Cool.
So that's the opener.
Did you feel that when you walked in?
Summit Crossing's website. So yeah, I guess let me sort of describe. Okay. I can paint the picture really quick. So Summit Crossing is a church that I think most people in town, if you tell them like, oh, it's that big church off the highway off of 565, they like instantly know where it is. But it just has Summit Crossing painted on the building. It doesn't. Yeah. It's not like a big fancy building, really. It looks like an old school. That's what I had told people. I felt like I was in a.
It kind of looks like
old
that.
School
it was
that
a strip club, though.
Like
I think we've talked about that before, but.
Oh yeah. It if that was a strip club, I know that it was going down in the sanctuary now, and they could have they unless they expanded. That was one.
Was there any glitter still in the carpet? Or?
Just on my face. No,
Glitter
yeah.
is so
There was
hard to
glitter
get out.
everywhere,
I mean,
man.
it really is. It's one of
All
those
over my
things that
face.
just,
It's been in my beard for like a week, man. My daughter found the glitter at the
yeah,
house, and man, you should have seen it. What a mess in her room. It's one
yeah.
of those things too. You
It's a
got to vacuum like
nuisance.
5 times before you can really ever get it. It's a pain. So okay, so you walk in, and
Yeah,
I'll just kind of keep painting the picture here. So I got there 15 minutes early, and I got there with my, I had my little
yeah.
notepad, the same thing that we did when we went to Church of the Highlands. And so I walk in. There's like not very many cars there. I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is going to be really calm. And so I go from my truck, and these two ladies are standing there in the front, but they're kind of like chit chatting with each other. They're like the service greeters, whatever. They didn't say anything to me. I almost wanted to do like the tight lip nod, hey, and I just decided not to
So
because
you
it
even
didn't
talk
seem like
to
they
you?
were interested in even a tight lip nod. So, and to even talk at all, yeah. And it's okay because they were chatting, and like really
Yeah,
that wouldn't have lost very many points for me, right? So whatever, you walk in, and it's a huge open room. It's probably like 50 foot or more, 70 foot wide and 100 foot deep. I mean, it's just like a big room. And there's a couple of tables on the left hand side that looks like little bar tables that you would like eat a snack on, like little bar top tables. There's like 2 chairs. There's a security guard. There's a lot of security. This is one thing I don't remember, and that they don't have at my little church that they go to, is security.
well, I wonder what that's about. You
Dressed
know,
out security,
like
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I mean, they
yeah.
just
That's
straight up
right.
had cops at Church of the Highlands inside. But at Summit
Mm,
Crossing, it was
like church
more like a
staff
bouncer
being security.
kind of looking dude. Maybe, yeah. But I mean, it was
Yeah,
clear enough for me to know that like what
yeah.
was up.
You wouldn't.
So he wasn't really incognito. But what do I know? Maybe he was just a big dude in all black standing there
Yeah,
with a
maybe that's just his
security shirt
wardrobe.
on it, and I'm wrong. Yeah, he just wears that, and he was just moseying around the front
That's
door,
always that always
just like
makes you feel welcome
kicking
when you've
rocks.
got
Who knows?
yeah,
Yeah, I think that they do it as a measure for the kids. I don't know, but I get it. Church, lots of things have gone down in churches over the years.
yeah,
I'm feeling it like I'm in a very accepting mood tonight. In the church that I grew up at, I bet half of them were strapped,
yeah,
and that was the security. And I grew up in a bad neighborhood that probably would get fucked up. I guess hey, that might not be a great thing to say. Actually, you never know when it's going to happen. But I know we were ready. I know we were ready. All right. So Kevin I don't know. We lost Kevin. So I'm just going to keep going. All right. So you walk in, and there's like the 75-foot building, or 75 foot by like 100-foot open room. And there's 2 little bar stools over here on the left. And then all the way in the back right corner, there's there's 2 chairs and a table. Okay. So the only other thing in the room, imagine it looks like a big open dance hall with a bar. Because the only other thing in the room is this huge coffee bar. It's probably 30 feet, maybe long. It's probably about 30 feet long. Kevin's back. Kevin, come back. I know that you've been to Summit Crossing before, Kevin's. I was telling
oh
him about
yeah.
the big coffee bar.
It's pretty awesome. Looks kind of like a Starbucks, doesn't it?
I think at least it's got
Yeah,
to be at least
it
30
was
foot
huge.
long. And they had like hot water on the sides, like bold coffee over here, decaf coffee over here. But it was so big, and each thing had its like individual line, and the coffee cups were fancy, and they had baristas back there making sure that things were full. So I went there and I got a cup of coffee. What else are you going to do? You're in this big open room with coffee and then nothing else. Everybody was really hanging out. When I got there, again, it was 15 minutes early. It was actually pretty empty. And I went and I sat down, and I got a seat up close to the up close to the pulpit, and people started filing in like crazy. I mean, by the end of it, there was probably 1,000 people in there, the same as Church of the Highlands, except Summit Crossing doesn't have stadium seating, which really adds to the allure of the environment. So yeah, I guess Kevin, we just lost Kevin again. Anyway, so once I get in there, I'm sitting down and I'm alone, and there's kind of some people around me. They don't really have much to say, but I kind of sat front and center anyway. Actually, there was a pole behind me, and I wanted that because it helped me feel secure. And so a couple people walk up, and they said something to me. And this is the only time anybody said anything to me throughout the entire experience. Hey, Kevin, welcome back. to the Wandering Home podcast. This is Tyler talking about Summit Crossing, man. I'm glad you're here. Jesus.
I keep spawning in
Stick
and out.
around, damn it.
Yeah, I'm
You've been in
sorry.
and out like 3 times, man. Good Lord. It's okay. So I was just telling everybody I picked a seat up by the pulpit and some people came up and it started to like fill in and some people also, they wanted to be right in front of the pulpit. And this wasn't like a jam-packed church yet. This is just like people trickling in.
I did.
But did you ride the bus when you were a kid? Did you sit in the same seat every day?
Third row.
Once you pick a seat
to the right. That's yours.
See, so once you pick a seat on the bus, it's kind of your seat, and people get, it's not territorial, but you just find it, right? Same thing with the class, like you just pick a seat, and that's your seat. Well, I think I had picked the wrong seat. I think I had picked somebody else's seat. Yeah, well, they weren't pissed. They weren't like, dude, get out. But they did ask me to move, and that was the only thing anybody said to me out of the 1,000 people that were there. The greeters didn't say hi. Yeah,
Wait
the
a minute.
greeters didn't say hi. None of the service people said hi.
Move. Hang on.
It was just
move rows or like what?
Move. They wanted me to scoot. They wanted me to scoot down, but they didn't need me to scoot down. Like they just wanted me to scoot down because I was in someone's seat, I guess. But I wasn't. Listen, by bus rules, I was in somebody's seat. I got there first.
Dude, that's crazy.
And how am I supposed to know?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of feel.
Yeah, this guy, he kind of like thumped his Bible down at the chair next to me. In the chair next to me, and he looked at me and he said, "What up, bitch? Can you move down like 2?"
Dang, this sounds like prison rules.
Yeah.
Like, did he?
Yeah. And then he like
did he ask if you were going to eat your cornbread
in the forehead? No, but he had a piece of cornbread in his hand actually when he did it.
Where the hell was he getting this cornbread?
Yeah, I don't fucking know. So anyway, cornbread aside, yeah, they pushed me down, and then it started to get even more and more full, and I left that row entirely. At this point, I don't want any part of it. I'm out. So I go to the very back row.
No competition there,
And no competition in the back row. And then eventually it gets so full, I hear the guy next to me, or one of the service guys behind me, saying that they had found like part of their job is to go and find seats so that if somebody comes in, they can help seat them. Like when so they had 6 seats on the left half of the auditorium. It's like probably like 1,000 people. I mean, it's slammed. And so a lot of people in and out with their big canteens of coffee.
A lot of CrossFitters.
Definitely a lot of coffee heads.
Did you feel? No, okay.
No, I didn't really feel that. People kind of clicked up like in the sanctuary. You know how like we used to, you ever seen The Breakfast Club? You know how he just kind of like slings his foot over on top of the like cafeteria table, like just it kind of felt like that, like this one guy like turned a chair around and was like doing the backwards hug thing from the 90s, and there was another, like it was kind of like a hangout zone was in the sanctuary before we started. I didn't catch CrossFitters necessarily. I kind of had my eyes on these older
What were
dudes.
they like?
I was interested in the like guys around my age that were hanging out with each other, but there weren't very many. And then the people who were having the most fun were these like these old dudes, probably like 55
I wouldn't have
plus.
I wouldn't have thought like older people would have been attracted to that church. Would you have? Or
I don't know, man. My mind is blown between Church of the Highlands and Summit Crossing. And, here's what I'll say holds up. Summit Crossing definitely felt, Church of the Highlands is extremely diverse. Like there was a guy next to me who I think just got out of prison, an old person in front of me, and like chicks over here, and they're just like pulling them from people from everywhere. Summit Crossing, I think, is a little bit more like local and like niched down to specific people. The pastor definitely has a style. He's definitely like seemed to me like playing into the younger, but he's an older dude, kind of dresses with some style, and he's strong, and he's a big guy. And the people, like I said, I mean, I can't say that they're all one way or the other. It was casual dress, maybe a little bit more casual than Church of the Highlands. And like they definitely went for this like minimalist coffee vibe. So, it feels like you're
they're the kind of crew that's like
to me a little bit
talking about like craft ice and yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Almost all the dudes, the guy who kicked me out of my chair, I know for sure that he's got like those little like ice balls that he drops into his whiskey. Yeah. He was the only one that wasn't wearing. They were all wearing like the same kind of shirt. It was all the same getup, but the one who kicked me out was wearing like a
Oh,
Masters golf shirt. But all the other guys were wearing, I forget what it was, the same brand.
like
But it was
Vineyard
like,
Vines or something?
these are probably like these are probably some of the only like frat
Okay.
dude
The
looking
rest
kids
of them,
that I saw
yeah.
the whole time. It was a lot more like grown up. There's young families. I always have my eyes on young families. I kind of crept back to the kids area.
You,
That's kind of, I hope
you
that
have
doesn't
kids, yeah,
sound
yeah,
weird,
yeah.
but as a parent, you're kind of curious. So they have like an automatic, check-in system from computers, and you get a sticker, and
Was it friendly?
kind of standard.
Did you feel?
I don't think that I would say that it felt friendly, only because again, like the only person who said anything to me was
Yeah, that's
the guy
crazy.
who asked me to move out of his seats.
Yeah, I wonder if
Yeah,
churches like that, like, because I have felt the same way when I visited that church, and I wonder what drives churches like that with that type of culture. Like, is it a leadership style that drives that? You know what I mean? Yeah,
that's a good question. I mean, I do think that the leader sets the tone.
yeah,
I do think that the leader sets the tone. I do think that, I mean, look, both of the pastors that we've seen so far have been like good looking dudes that care about their physical appearance a lot. I'm not going to go into like, now it's probably not,
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not going to bash a pastor on the podcast, but he was the guy at Summit Crossing. Like, he's definitely doing his thing he was making his rounds and, just patting people on the back. He does like the man, like, everybody was doing that. I did notice that. I told my mother-in-law, like, nobody was just like saying what's up or fist bumping or like head nodding. They were all hugging each other and doing like really aggressive back hits.
Yeah. Did I?
Yeah.
Well, here's the question.
I
So
didn't know what that was
he
about.
was walking
I was like,
around a
oh,
lot of people. Did he? He didn't walk up to you?
no. Um,
Yeah.
so I'll get to the
Yeah. No,
sermon
no, no.
part of
Let's
it,
talk about
or maybe we
sermon.
should
Yeah.
talk about the service part. So overall, yeah, just to wrap that up, just think coffee shop vibes, really very busy, and I would say like diverse but not insane.
Yeah.
Different groups of the
Like
same
different
kind of
handlebar
people. I
mustaches.
mean, it's like when you go to the white school, and the white school's got just like its own little, it's just like, I want to say it's diverse because there's a lots of different groups that I saw hanging out, but I don't mean that in like diversity
You mean like some
racially or
people were
anything like
wearing
that.
polos, some people were wearing Abercrombie and Finch.
Yeah, right. Some people were
Yeah, okay.
cowboys, some
Yeah,
people drove big
okay.
trucks. Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. So, okay, so we get in there, and okay, the production value and all that there was reasonable. One thing that I noted from the church when I was there was that their church office looked like it was just a bunch of picnic tables and like picnic chairs, as if to say, we're not going to spend our money on a workspace. Like,
Yeah.
the money can go somewhere else. And I thought that maybe that went into like the minimalist vibe all around. Like they definitely slapped a new coat of paint. There's nothing like old or shabby in there, but it's not like primo
Yeah.
material. It's not a
More
brand new building. You know what I mean?
industrial.
So yeah, I mean, look, man, I respect it. That's cool. It's pretty. It's fine. I'm not gonna, again. I'm not gonna say anything bad. But I am curious if like if you're going to make a statement like that, just the why behind that is so important. And I'm always skeptical of a person's why. So it could be as simple as they're like, if they,
Yeah.
and they're saying, look, we're not going to spend, like, as church leaders, we're willing to work on picnic tables. As long as they're doing that with humility, it's okay. But I'm always so skeptical that it's not like, it's like you're doing it more for
Yeah,
show than you're
absolutely.
doing it for the purpose. So, and I'm not judging
Yeah.
them. I just am skeptical always if I see that. Like, I saw
Yeah.
that and I was like, why though? Why? We all work, we don't really want to work on picnic
Yeah.
tables and chairs. A desk would be
Yeah.
fine. There's nothing ridiculous
Yeah.
about that.
Everybody likes those.
Drawers would be good. Yeah. So anyway, take it for what it's worth. The production was okay. I thought the people who were playing music were not pros. The lighting was there, but it
Yeah.
wasn't crazy. Again,
Yeah.
like I thought that, and I like that. And it was more like guitar based than it was like a rock show. The lady who sang had a great voice. One thing I thought was cool is like they always brought every song back to like a Bible verse. So I was sitting in the back, and they have like the TVs you read the words of the song for, and they all had like basically the Bible verse that the song was in reference to or something like that. So you could do like, you could listen and have some meditation about the
That's
verse,
good.
which I did a
That's
little
pretty
bit,
cool.
or you could kind of sing along. Yeah, I thought that was neat. And that's it. I think yeah, they were good. They weren't overpowering. That is more like what I would enjoy at a church. And I like the, again, like that, like more acoustic, soft feel in a,
Yeah, absolutely.
at a morning service. So, okay, and then let's just get into what he preached about. It was the Sermon on the Mount. And what do you remember about the Sermon on the Mount?
Well, I know where you're going with this. So I would say the Beatitudes, the blessed are the poor, blessed are the merciful.
Did he say anything about porn?
So
Because we
there
talked a
is
lot
there
about
is a
porn.
reference to like, adultery, that a man is guilty. Jesus says, you said the law says that, if you sleep with a woman, you committed adultery. But I say if you look on a woman with lust, you've committed adultery in your heart. So, but it's a very small percentage. Yeah.
Okay, that's what we were talking about. Yeah. So we talked about two things, and I think that these are
Yeah.
probably one after the other in verses, right? Don't, nobody should quote me on where anything is in the Bible, but I'm assuming they were
Okay.
back to back because we talked about them in one 40-minute session. So the first thing is, the first message that I got that's coming through, it's been a couple weeks, is that if you don't resolve or try to resolve conflict, basically meet anger with kindness, then you are
Yeah.
as bad. It's just like murdering
Yeah.
somebody.
So that's,
You're as bad
yeah,
as
I
they
would
are.
say that's
Okay.
somewhat, I mean, that's what the Sermon on the Mount is talking about. Calling somebody a fool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So he said, you're a murderer if you do that. So that was the first part. And he was funny. The pastor was funny. He said some silly things, a fine speaker, and he told us a story about him, as a kid, just like murdering people all over the basketball court cuz he was, like talking shit or, like whatever. He's like, I murdered 3 people since I got here today. So I thought, that was fine. And then he took it to the second part of the verse, or maybe the
Yeah.
next verse, which was the lust part. And you know what was interesting? From the very beginning of the service, so the people stopped singing, and there was a guy who came up for announcements. He was talking about how hard of a job the pastor had today, how many big things he was going to talk about today. And this was all them giving us a little tickle
Mm.
about the fact that he was going to have to say the word porn. Like I am a little bit curious. Is it, you were the pastor, not me. But like, if you have a porn episode, do you have to tell everybody like way in advance
Yeah.
that you're going to talk about that? And also, like, would you say it? Would you be upfront? Would you just be like, guys, they were dancing around it?
Yeah.
I'm
It
just
feels
like,
like you're kind of
it feels weird.
apologizing
You know what I
for
mean?
talking about it. Hmm.
Yeah, I'm just like, hey, look, man. It's like what I told my
Yeah.
mother-in-law. She's very curious about my church shopping. Is that it's kind of like
Yeah.
telling a room full of teenagers not to
Yeah.
cuss.
Yeah.
Like they'll sit there quiet,
Feel awkward.
until
Yeah.
they're gone, and then they'll just go keep cussing. You know what I mean? Like they're not, hey, son, don't cuss. Like,
Yeah.
okay, you got it. But I just feel like it's kind of like, I
Yeah.
understand that there might be kids there, but there was no like, y'all, today we're going to talk about a verse, and we're going to talk about lust, and that's going to take us to sex,
Yeah.
and we're going to talk about sex and relationships, and we're going to and it now is the time for you to decide if you want to stick around or not.
Yeah.
That would have been more
Something too,
direct.
though, like me and you actually talked about this, I think a couple weeks ago when I was up with you, was like when I was a youth pastor, lust was always a big word and always a big topic that we would talk to youth about. And one thing that we would do, like at summer camps, we wouldn't allow girls to wear a two-piece bathing suit because, you didn't want to make the boys fall. But like when I got older, I started thinking like maybe that was the wrong approach. Maybe
Mm,
we should have taught boys not to objectify women, you know, instead of like, hey,
yeah,
we,
right. Like it's
yeah,
not on the girl to change to, wear something
exactly. And I
like
think
that so that
sometimes
a
we
guy
like
doesn't think, yeah.
demonize things. And I'm not saying
It's very
that,
progressive
I'm not
talking, I
saying
think.
obviously porn is bad. I mean, there's not anything that you could do to redeem that. But like, But there's so much demonizing that, or, the way that a woman dresses and different things, instead of, like, actually talking to the person, the boy, and teaching them how to not objectify women. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, totally. No, 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 I think you nailed it. But in this service, I felt like there was this huge lead up
yeah.
by the people who were leading the service, and that's ultimately why I left, because what I wound up getting was like a teenager sitting
Yeah,
there
just get
listening to my
browbeat.
parents or anybody else,
Yeah.
feeling like I'm getting the sex talk about, and he's like, he almost culminates in this, and he's got both hands up and he's like, sex is the crown jewel of a loving, godly relationship. And I'm like, fuck this noise. Everybody here is smashing. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to do this. Like, you don't have to say it. Don't Sunday
Yeah.
school me in, like, to my face. Why am I getting, So
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't what I'm here
Yeah.
for. And I'm going to go now. So I left. I moseyed my way out and nobody said anything to me. And I walked out of there without having to use my voice. At least I got to preserve that for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I think that was sometimes the joys of working in the mission too. Is like, oh my God, yeah,
So you don't have
teaching
to
there,
act like,
like
yeah, yeah.
those you could just be so raw. You know what I mean?
It's like, all right, first we're going to start with a round of never have I ever. And then I'm going to tell you guys a
Yeah,
story.
it was just, dude, it was just so raw. It was so real, and sometimes when you like go to church and you hear like, we're going to talk about something really bad, it's the no word. I'm going to say it one
Yeah.
time. I get
Sex,
I get 4
porn.
credits today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to use the word 4 times, and every time I say it, I'm going to put a penny in the jar, and you're going to see that I put 4 in the jar. It's like, "Oh my God, give me a break, dude. If
Ugh,
these guys are really watching porn, they're not listening to a damn
yeah,
thing you're saying." You know what I mean? Like, anyway,
yeah.
sorry.
Well, look, I, there, it was enough for me, but I'm a 33, almost 34-year-old dude. It's like,
Yeah.
been there and done that for all of it. Now there were some kids, but now I'm sitting there and I'm feeling like I'm experiencing it with the mentality of like a 15 or 16-year-old. And I was looking at a couple of 15 and 16-year-olds, and what were they doing? They were tapping their foot and just looking ahead straight, like they didn't give a shit what he was saying. And I was like, yo, he's talking to you. That's why I think it's just like telling a kid not to cuss, right? Like there's 1,000 people in the room,
Yeah.
200 of them are teenagers, or and don't have to be a teenager to think that you're they've sex or
Yeah.
whatever for a godly relationship. Like obviously he's not just talking to teenagers, but in my head I just felt like I was
Yeah.
like, I don't need that. I don't need this talk today. And plus, I'm a regular dude. I hang out with regular dudes. And I know for a fact we might sit there and listen, but it's not going to stop a regular dude from smashing somebody who he's not married to. Like how I maybe have met one person
Yeah.
that said that they were going to wait. Like I just don't. I just am
Well, I
not into
don't
that talk.
I think
I'm
that's
just not
one
into that
I
talk.
mean, I keep going back to, like, the whole Catholic thing, but, like, that is one joy of the mass. Is like in Protestant services, the sermon is so much of a centerpiece of it. You know what I mean? So we've got to talk about sex, or we got to talk about
Uh,
this, and we're going to talk about it for 45 minutes in the service. And the reality of it is that that's really not probably going to help someone. Like, honestly, where it's going to help someone is like one on one talking about it so that you can be real.
yeah,
But that
when it's in
when
play, right?
when we're like, oh, we're going to disciple or to teach everyone from a 60-year-old man to a 15-year-old boy in this 45-minute time, and you basically try to reach everyone and you don't reach anyone. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. Well, hey, if you're a pastor and you're walking through the Sermon on the Mount and you come across these verses, just chew on it for a little bit. Maybe you play it the same way the Summit Crossing guy did, or maybe you wouldn't. Maybe it was one of those things where if you're walking through the on the Mount and you come across these verses, you have to stop. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I think I can only tell you my experience, right? Hey, 15-year-old kid's life may have been changed, but
Ye-
for me, I was like,
Hey, here's a
so I
question.
got
What do
out of
you
there before
think
the
would have
traffic
all right, so
came.
you get to that verse in Sermon on the Mount, someone is preaching that. it's talking about lust. And what do you think would have been a beneficial thing to talk about once you reach that verse? Yeah. Well,
You're
what
asking me
would
how
you
I
have
would have
thought
approached
like,
that
all
to
right,
a
when you
church.
get to that, like when you're talking about lust, like what is obviously like some morality talk's not going to help a person, but what would actually help a person in one of those situations?
I don't know.
I mean, I
I mean,
think
it's a good
I think in
question,
my mind, I'm
but
instantly going to like talking about accountability and talking about friendship and talking about people you can be honest with. And you know what I mean? Like I don't
yeah.
know, like there's positive ways of, of getting out of that rather than just saying, sex is great, but don't do it, you know?
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah. Look, I don't really know, right? I just don't know how I would approach it, and I don't want to talk like I have an idea. You have definitely more of a space to talk than I do. I think here's the verse. You've heard that it was said, "Do not commit adultery," but I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. And if your right eye causes you to sin, blah blah blah. So I might give a similar speech, but I might just say it differently. The thing is I don't believe what he was saying. So
Yeah.
that's why I left. That's why I left. It's like, if you want to give me the Sunday school about, about thinking a chick is hot, like you can give me the Sunday school about thinking a chick is hot and you could tell me the reasons why, but I don't know. It's like, where's the beef, bro? You have to be able to like apply that to how it comes out. Okay, so you look at chicks with lust. Okay, then what happens? Okay, maybe you don't look at your wife the same way,
Yeah.
right? Maybe right? So like what does that look like? And then, how can you combat it? Not just like it's a precious loving thing and you'll never, once you deflower, you're never going to reflower and all that kind of shit. Like, I think that's not applicable. But if you're doing it, it kind of comes out in this way, and the repercussions are this, and here's what you can do. I don't fucking know. Snap your fingers when you see a hot chick to do,
Yeah.
pinch yourself. I don't know. But, like whacking somebody in the face with, sex is bad
But it's
and don't
great.
do this or that. That to me, anyway. I feel like we've been on this for a long time. Maybe that's how I'd go about it. I don't know. I think it takes courage. I mean, I'm not jocking the guy. I mean, he had to get up there and deliver
Yeah.
it, so I didn't have to do it. All right, let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Get it?
Got to
That's a
wrap it
that's
up.
a sex joke. Let's wrap it up. Let's get out of here. So overall, I'd say Summit Crossing, taking proximity into account from where I live, is probably around
Okay,
somewhere between a five and a half and a six
that's
out
a
of 10 for
D.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
What did
yeah.
you what did
D
you rate
minus, but yeah.
Highlands?
And I wouldn't say it's a D. That does sound harsh. I
Okay.
mean, I'd
Yeah,
say it's
yeah.
a middle C then.
Yeah.
If we're doing a letter grade. The Church of the Highlands I thought was probably a little bit better. If I was going to go to one of
Yeah.
them
It
again, I
was
would go to
definitely
Church of the
friendly.
Highlands again. That's it. I think let's just leave it right there. Actually, I have a little bit more to say. As far as the service, I thought I liked the music. I probably would like the pastor. They seem pretty consistent with their website, and they did talk about how to get plugged in, which is something that they didn't really do too much at Church of the Highlands, so that's cool. Overall, like I said before in the first episode, we're looking at the website and kind of predicting what we'll see. I would say what you see is kind of what you get, which is a really
Yeah.
positive thing. That's a green
They're
flag. If
going
you're
to do it.
interested, if you like what they're serving, you will, yeah, I mean, you're going to like it. So if you go on the website to Summit Crossing or any church and you like, to Summit Crossing in particular, and you're like,
It's
oh, that
probably
could be
you.
me,
Yeah.
then chances are it probably will be. So, enjoy it. And in that case, I would
Yeah.
never not recommend it to somebody. But for myself, I'm probably gonna check out another church.
You were so positive tonight. I love it. Yeah. I like
That's
it.
good. I'm really trying to be nice. All right, so let's cut it. Let's cut
Yeah, I
it.
think so.
Say bye to
See you
everybody.
guys.
Let's cut this recording.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Come back next time. Bye.
Yeah, you did great. I thought that was good. No, you didn't. You kept it